We like to think we can know everything. It's a nice thought. The idea that with enough time, enough work, enough brain power, we could solve all the mystery. We could map out reality, from the tiniest particle to the edge of the cosmos, and have it all figured out. A complete encyclopedia of everything, but can we? Is that even possible, or are there hard limits, walls we can never get past, no matter how smart we get? This question isn't just for philosophers, it's for everyone. It touches on what it means to be human. We are curious creatures. We look up at the stars and wonder what they are. We look at a rock and wonder what it's made of. This drive to know is fundamental to us, so understanding the limits of that drive is a way of understanding ourselves. The easiest place to start is with our own bodies. We are biological machines, and like any machine, we have design limitations. Think about your senses. What you see, hear, and touch feels like the whole world. But it isn't. It's a tiny slice of reality filtered for our survival. Your eyes can see the colors of the rainbow from red to violet. But that visible light is a laughably small part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's like looking at one page of a massive library and thinking you've read all the books. Below red light, there's infrared, which snakes use to see heat. Then there are microwaves and radio waves carrying signals we need machines to decode. Above violet light, there's ultraviolet, which bees see to find nectar in flowers. Then there are X-rays and gamma rays. We are blind to all of this. We walk through a world buzzing with information that our senses simply cannot pick up. We built tools, sure. We have night vision goggles and radio telescopes. But the tools only translate a piece of that hidden world into something we can perceive. They don't give us the direct experience. A bee's world, rich with ultraviolet patterns on a flower petal, is a world we can never truly know. We can know about it, but we can't know it in the same way. The same is true for hearing. A dog can hear a whistle that is silent to you. An elephant can hear rumbles through the ground from miles away. We live in a quiet little bubble of sound, while the world hums and screams at frequencies we will never hear. Our senses are the only gateways we have to the outside world. All data must come through them. And they are severely limited. This is not a failure on our part. They evolved to help us find food, avoid predators, and survive on a planet long before we started asking about quantum physics. They are perfectly good for their original purpose, but for understanding the totality of reality. They are a profound and permanent bottleneck. Then there's the machine that processes all this data, our brain. The human brain is the most complex thing we know of in the universe. It has about 86 billion neurons, with trillions of connections. And it's a masterpiece of evolution, but it's also a physical object. It's 3 pounds of soft tissue running on about 20 watts of power, the same as a dim light bulb. It has limits. It evolved, just like our eyes and ears, for a specific purpose. It was built to navigate social groups, to find patterns in the hunt, to remember where the good fruit grew. It did not evolve to comprehend 11-dimensional spacetime or the nature of infinity. The fact that it can do the math for these things at all is a happy accident, but there may be concepts, ideas, and aspects of reality that are simply too complex for our neural architecture to handle. Think of it this way. You can't teach a dog to do calculus. It's not a matter of the dog not trying hard enough. Its brain simply does not have the capacity for that level of abstract thought. It's not built for it. Is it so arrogant to assume that we are the endpoint of intelligence? It's possible, even likely, that there are levels of understanding so far beyond us that we are like the dog trying to understand calculus. We might be able to get glimmers to create metaphors, but the true, deep comprehension could be forever out of reach. Our brain, the very tool we use for knowing, might be the ultimate limit to what we can know. Our memories are faulty. Our attention is limited. We are plagued by cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that help us survive but often lead us away from the truth. We seek out information that confirms what we already believe. We stick with our first impressions. We are not pure rational computers. We are animals, and our thinking is shaped by emotion, instinct, and a deep need to feel like we are right. This hardware and its buggy software put a ceiling on our knowledge, and we don't live forever. An individual life is short. Knowledge is cumulative, passed down from one generation to the next. But each person must learn it again, and each person can only become an expert in a tiny, specialized field. A physicist today probably doesn't know much about molecular biology, and a biologist probably doesn't know much about ancient Roman history. The total sum of human knowledge is already far too vast for any single person to hold. As that sum grows, we each know a smaller and smaller percentage of the whole. This creates a practical limit. We rely on the specialized knowledge of others, but this is a form of trust, not direct knowledge. So our bodies, our brains, and our lifespans create a set of biological limits. But even if we could overcome these, say with genetic engineering or by merging with computers, we would run into another set of walls. These are the limits imposed by the universe itself. The universe is big, unimaginably big. And it's old, and there is a hard speed limit, the speed of light. Nothing with mass can travel faster. This isn't just a technological challenge we might one day solve. It appears to be a fundamental rule of how space-time works. Because of this speed limit, we can never have a real-time picture of the universe. When we look at the Andromeda Galaxy, our closest major galactic neighbor, we are not seeing it as it is now. We are seeing it as it was 2.5 million years ago. That's how long its light took to reach us. For more distant galaxies, we are looking billions of years into the past. We are cosmic historians looking at old photographs. We can never know what is happening right now on a planet in Andromeda. That information is locked away from us and will be for another 2.5 million years. There is also a cosmic horizon. The universe is expanding, and the farther away a galaxy is, the faster it is moving away from us. At a certain distance, galaxies are receding from us faster than the speed of light. This doesn't violate the rule, because it's the space between us and them that is stretching. The light from those galaxies will never reach us, ever. They are beyond our observable universe. We are inside a bubble of knowledge, and the edge of that bubble is the farthest we can see. What lies beyond it is, and will forever be, unknowable. It's a part of reality that is permanently cut off from us. So we have limits on the very large. We also have limits on the very small. When we get down to the quantum world of electrons and photons, things get weird. The rules of our everyday world fall apart. One of the most famous principles here is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. In simple terms, it says that you cannot know both the exact position and the exact momentum of a particle at the same time. The more precisely you measure one, the less precisely you know the other. Again, this is not a problem with our tool. It's not like if we just built a better microscope, we could beat it. It's a fundamental property of reality. The very act of observing a quantum system changes it. To see an electron, you have to bounce something off of it, like a photon of light. But the electron is so small that the act of bouncing a photon off it knocks it off its course. It's like trying to find out where a billiard ball is by hitting it with another billiard ball. The moment you find it, you've changed its momentum. This means that at the most fundamental level, reality is fuzzy. It's probabilistic. We can know the odds of an electron being here or there, but we can never pin it down with absolute certainty. There is a built-in limit to our precision. We cannot know everything about a particle because everything in the classical sense doesn't seem to exist. The universe itself seems to have a limit on how much can be known about it at any one time. Then, there is the problem of complexity. Some systems are so complex that even if we knew all the rules governing them, we could never predict their behavior. Think about the weather. We understand the physics of air pressure, temperature, and humidity pretty well. But a tiny change in conditions in one place, the proverbial butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil, can lead to huge and unpredictable changes somewhere else. This is chaos theory. It applies to many things: the stock market, the climate, the way a fluid flows, and even the workings of the brain. These systems are not random, they are deterministic. But they are so sensitive to initial conditions that perfect prediction is impossible. You would need to measure the state of every single particle to an impossible degree of accuracy. The system itself is its own fastest computer. To know exactly what the weather will be in a month, you basically have to wait a month and see. This is a practical limit that might be, in effect, a permanent one. We can get better at modeling and forecasting, but perfect knowledge of such systems is likely out of the question. These are limits from biology and physics. They are about our hardware and the hardware of the universe. But there are even deeper, more abstract limits. These are the limits of logic and reason itself. In the 1930s, a mathematician named Kurt Gödel came up with something called the incompleteness theorems. They are one of the most profound intellectual achievements in human history, and what they say is devastating to the idea of complete knowledge. In simple terms, Gödel proved that in any consistent formal system of logic or mathematics that is complex enough to include basic arithmetic, there will always be true statements that cannot be proven within that system. Let that sink in. There are truths that are true, but we can never, ever prove them to be true using the rules of the game. He proved this with a brilliant self-referential statement that basically said, this statement cannot be proven. If the statement is false, then you can prove it, which means the system is contradictory. If the system is consistent, then the statement must be true, but as it says, it cannot be proven. This blew a hole in the idea that mathematics was a closed, perfect system where every question could one day be answered with either true or false. Gödel showed that the system is and will always be incomplete. There are mathematical truths out there that are beyond the reach of formal proof. This isn't just about math. It suggests a fundamental limit to what any logical system, including our own reasoning, can fully comprehend. It implies that there might be truths about the universe that we can never formally prove. We might suspect them, we might believe them, but they will remain forever in the realm of the unprovable. Our very tools of logic, the things we use to build knowledge, have inherent limitations. And this brings us to another kind of question, one that science may never be able to answer. Science is fantastic at answering how. How does gravity work? How do cells divide? How did the universe begin with the Big Bang? It describes processes and mechanisms with incredible power. But science is not equipped to answer why. Why is there a universe at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? Why are the laws of physics the way they are, and not some other way? These are not scientific questions. There is no experiment you can run to test why gravity exists. You can only describe how it behaves. These questions may not have answers in the way we think of answers, or their answers may lie outside of what our methods of inquiry can access. This is the realm of philosophy and religion, but in terms of knowledge that is empirical and verifiable, the great why questions might represent a permanent wall. The scientific method is a powerful tool, but it can only work on things that are testable and falsifiable. The ultimate origin and purpose of existence might not be either of those things. Perhaps the most intimate and baffling limit of all is the problem of consciousness. We know that the brain is a physical system. We can watch neurons fire. We can see which parts of the brain light up when you feel happy or sad or when you see the color red. We are getting very good at mapping the how of consciousness. We can see the correlations between brain activity and subjective experience. But we have absolutely no idea why this is so. Why does the firing of a certain pattern of neurons create the subjective, private, rich inner experience of seeing red? Why isn't it all just dark inside? Why do we have feelings, a point of view, a sense of self at all? This is called the hard problem of consciousness. It's the gap between the objective physical world of brain cells and electricity and the subjective qualitative world of experience. We can't explain how the first gives rise to the second. It is a complete mystery. And it may be a limit we can never cross. We are trying to use our own consciousness to understand consciousness. It's like trying to see your own eyeball without a mirror. We are trapped inside the very system we are trying to explain. Maybe a system cannot, by its very nature, fully model itself. Maybe the subjective experience of being a me is a type of reality that is simply not accessible to the objective, third-person tools of science. We can know everything there is to know about the brain of a bat and how it uses sonar. But we will never know what it feels like to be a bat. In the same way, we may never be able to explain what it feels like to be a human in purely physical terms. The inner world of our own minds could be the most profound and permanent unknown. Finally, there are the limits we place on ourselves. These are not built into the universe or our brains, but they are just as real. They are the limits of culture, language, and psychology. Our thoughts are built out of language. We think in words and concepts, but language is a map, not the territory. The word water is not wet. The word love is a simple four-letter container for a vast and complex range of emotions and experiences. Is it possible that there are thoughts we cannot think because we do not have the words or concepts for them? Does the structure of our language limit the structure of our reality? An ancient culture with no concept of zero would find it very difficult to discover certain mathematical truths. What concepts are we missing today? What realities are we blind to because we simply don't have the language to frame the question? Our culture also directs what we look for. Science is not a purely objective pursuit. It is done by people and funded by societies. We decide what is worth studying. We pour billions of dollars into cancer research and weapons technology and very little into cataloging the deep sea life at the bottom of the ocean. Our values, our fears, and our desires create a spotlight. We learn a great deal about what is in the spotlight and we remain ignorant about what lies in the dark. What we choose to ask determines the answers we can get. The questions we never think to ask create a vast continent of unexplored ignorance. And as mentioned before, our own psychology works against us. We are storytellers. We prefer a good story to a messy set of facts. We are tribal. We tend to believe what our group believes. We are prone to confirmation bias, actively seeking out evidence that supports our views and ignoring evidence that contradicts them. In an age of infinite information, it is easier than ever to build a comfortable cocoon of knowledge that is completely wrong. Overcoming these biases is incredibly difficult. For many, it's impossible. This self-imposed ignorance, this preference for comfort over truth is one of the most powerful limits on human knowledge. So where does that leave us? It sounds pretty bleak. Our senses are limited. Our brains are limited. The universe has rules that lock information away from us. Logic itself is incomplete. Our most intimate experience, consciousness, is a mystery, and we sabotage ourselves with bias and cultural blinders. It seems the dream of total knowledge is just that, a dream. But this isn't a reason for despair. In fact, it might be the opposite. Knowing that the world is infinitely more complex and mysterious than we can ever grasp is a source of humility. It's an antidote to the arrogance of thinking we have it all figured out. It keeps us honest. The existence of limits is also what gives the search for knowledge its meaning. If we could know everything, the quest would be over. The game would be won. But it's an infinite game. The goal is not to win, but to keep playing. The joy is in the search itself. Think of it like this. Imagine our knowledge is an island in a vast ocean of ignorance. As we learn more, our island grows. But as the island grows, so does the length of its shoreline, the boundary between what we know and what we don't know. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. A physicist at the cutting edge of her field is more aware of the deep, unanswered questions than a college student who has just learned the basics. The expansion of knowledge is also the expansion of our awareness of ignorance. Some of these limits might be soft. We can build better tools to extend our senses. We can develop artificial intelligence to help us analyze complex systems. We can learn to be more aware of our biases. We can push back against these walls. But some of them seem to be hard walls, the speed of light, the uncertainty principle, and Gödel's theorems. These seem to be fundamental features of the reality we live in. We will have to learn to live with them. We'll have to accept that we are finite creatures in a possibly infinite reality, and that our view will always be partial. The limit of human knowledge is not a number. It's not a finish line. It's a horizon that moves as we approach it. We may never reach it, but in walking towards it, we explore the world, we understand ourselves, and we find our purpose. The value is not in arriving at a destination of complete knowledge, but in the journey of discovery itself. And that journey has no end.